What's going on, everybody, and welcome back into the Brenden Schaeffer Fantasy Football YouTube channel. I'm laughing as I begin this video because I realize how ridiculous this is going to look on your screen, but I got a request from Orlando to do a 16-person draft from the 1.1, from the 1-1 in PPR. And so I'm going to try to make this happen. This may not be a video that's suitable to everybody, but maybe we find out that there are more people in there out there in 16-team leagues than I otherwise would have known. So let me know in the comments below, what's the biggest league size that you play in, and how helpful would more content on deep leagues be from the Brenden Schaeffer channel here covering fantasy football? Let me know in the comments below. Hit like on this video and hit subscribe to the channel if you enjoy fantasy football content. We're running mock drafts from now until the beginning of the NFL season, and then we will transition into weekly content as it pertains to trade strategies, waiver pickups, lineup decisions, start sit. All fantasy football content will be found here on the channel. So if you guys are just finding me, it's because it's a brand new channel. I'm a Major League Baseball writer that covers the Cardinals in St. Louis, but I am beginning to do more fantasy content on the side as well. It's a big-time passion of mine, and so this is something that I'm picking up in addition to covering MLB. So if you guys enjoy what we're putting out on the channel, would love to have you subscribe. Let's go ahead and kick this thing off, though, because this is like legitimately insane what we're going to be doing here. A 16-team snake draft. I have done one of these in my past, but we're transitioning actually my 16-person league to a auction draft this year because I think it's ridiculous to try and wait. Like, imagine this, the person that won one here. Like, I'm going to try to mock this to the best of my ability, but if you're waiting from the 1.1, you've got like 30 picks that go in between you and your next pick. Like, it's a completely different tier. We're basically going to be into like round 3 of what a standard draft would be, and we're just still going to be drafting in the second round. It's going to be absolutely bonkers. Not a lot of decisions off the top. Because of the format here, I am going to, and why in the world, this is something I got to change. I got to fix this. I absolutely do not need a second flex in this deep league. Let's go ahead and update that to 1 flex, make my life a little bit easier. I'm going to be risk-averse in the first round, so that means no Jonathan Taylor. Trying to think of other guys that I would probably vow to stay away from because you cannot afford to get your first-round pick wrong in a 16-person league. The guy that's safe to me, Justin Jefferson. Second pick would be Jamar Chase. I would be considering Travis Kelce maybe as high as number 3, which he goes number 2 overall. Talk about the advantage of having an elite tight end in a 16-person league. There's a way to go about it. For me, it's just the safety net of a guy like Jefferson who's locked into his role. I think he's a very good, plausible pick here. You could go the RB route with Christian McCaffrey. It's a great advantage. But in full PPR, the notion of just getting a healthy guy through the season, that's what you're hoping with your first-round pick. I want to see where Jonathan Taylor went here. Not until the mid-second round, paired with a Devontae Adams start for Team 11 there. That's kind of interesting. I'm going to go ahead and read. I want to see how I should do this. If I want to read out real quick some of the picks, because I recognize that the video is so small, might not be able to see it. And I'm still a little bit of a novice at doing this, and so I don't know how much I'll be able to change things up as we go along here. Yeah, the names are really hard to read, so I do apologize for that. This may be an experiment that we try, and then we don't try again because it's just too difficult to do everything on the fly that I would need to do to make this video really sing. But round 1 goes Jefferson, Kelce, McCaffrey, Chase, Tyreek, Eckler, Barkley, Kupp, Chubb, Bijan, Adams, Diggs, Lamb, Mahomes, Amon-Ra, AJ to wrap up the first round. And then going right to left, we're Garrett Wilson, Josh Allen, Henry, Jacobs, Pollard, Taylor, Hurts, Waddle, Smith. Andrews goes to Team 7, mid to late second round. I like that pick at 2.10 for that team. Olave, Etienne, Najee Harris is a huge mistake as a second-round pick in this format. I'm just gonna come out and say it. Higgins, Burrow, and then we're up here at the 2.1, and we do get to go, or pardon me, not the 2.1, it's the 2.16. We do, though, get to go here twice in a row. We're probably going to be very subject to position runs in this sort of format, so we're not as likely to be able to go 0 RB or do anything crazy here. We got to find balance with our RBs and our running backs, and we have to pick our spots, I think, to go quarterback or tight end. I don't feel comfortable enough right now to do either of those positions. We're going to grab Jahmyr Gibbs because in a PPR setting, I do believe he's going to have a floor for the Lions. So we've got one receiver, one running back. That feels like a safe way to start. Again, a pass-catching running back like Gibbs, who's probably not banging between the tackles as often, probably not the goal line back necessarily. That could be David Montgomery in Detroit. We almost don't mind that because we're trying to keep guys healthy. I mean, that really is. If you've played 16-person leagues before, as I have, it's a huge factor in these decisions. Looking here at round 3, we're probably going to go wide receiver. And just as I mentioned, trying to keep guys healthy, the name that I feel like is staring me down is Keenan Allen here. And I know he's got an injury history. But if you look at what the Chargers are trying to do offensively under new OC Kellen Moore, they're going to throw the ball a lot. And we're getting reports that Keenan Allen is locked into a heavy volume role like in years past. Calvin Ridley would be a consideration, as would Deebo Samuel. But I'm shooting my shot on Keenan Allen because in PPR, he could be an absolute cheat code to have in round 3 of a 16-person format. After that, it goes Ridley, Metcalf, Stevenson, Brees, Ken Walker, Deebo Samuel, Amari Cooper. We see Lamar Jackson go off the board to Team 9. Damian Pierce, Joe Mixon, Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, Hopkins, Judy, Miles Sanders wraps up the 3rd round. 4th going right to left. Herbert, Waller, London, Kittle, DJ Moore, Fields, Dobbins, McLaurin, Lawrence, Ayuk, Connor, Godwin, Madison, Christian Watson, and DeAndre Swift. So we missed out on Christian Watson, who would have been a studly wide receiver 3 for our team. It doesn't end up going our way. I don't love the way this sets up because, again, you're subject to where you're picking in a draft like this. Guys like Javonte Williams, James Cook, big targets of mine at the running back position, they're simply not going to get back to me if I don't take him here as a little bit of a reach, right? Those guys are slated in the early 80s. Right now, it gets me through 96 and Traylon Burks. It's brutal. It is absolutely brutal out here. So we're going to pick one of those running backs, and we're going to make the decision to go with the guy in a 16-person league who isn't presently coming off of a major injury to his knee, Javonte Williams. So we're going to go James Cook, add a share of that Buffalo Bills offense, and then we're going to look right back to the wide receiver position because we want to make sure we're getting receivers in our flex spots. Tyler Lockett is an interesting guy. I really like him for PPR. I like him in general. I'm a little bit leery of going him because we've already gone with kind of an older wide receiver in Keenan Allen, but maybe I'm overthinking that. You want safety. You want guaranteed production in a league like this. And Tyler Lockett, for his credit, is a guy who plays through injuries, especially as he gets into his 30s, is not going to want to be missing games because you don't know how many more years you have in your NFL career. The more I think about it, the more I talk myself into Tyler Lockett in the 5th round as my wide receiver 3. I could go George Pickens. I could go Jordan Addison for the upside there. Those guys are going to be gone by the time we pick again. But I want to go with, I think in my wide receiver 3 spot, just a locked-in guy who I think is going to have a role. Smith and Jigba is injured to begin the season. I just don't see how you can prioritize him the same way in a 16-person format. I need injured guys like Smith and Jigba, who I'm hoping can materialize the second half of the year. They better be on my bench or it just doesn't work. Interesting to see JSN go off the board to Team 16 in the 6th round. He's basically slotted into a flex position, though, for them, the way it pans out as of now. I just want to scan rounds 5 and 6 to see if I see anything noticeable. A lot of quarterbacks going off the board in round 6. Tua, Prescott, Aaron Rodgers, and Deshaun Watson. That's worth keeping note of because we don't have a quarterback yet. We also don't have a tight end. Goddard, Kyle Pitts, Evan Ingram, Freiermuth, and Njoku are the tight ends that just left the board. So we do have to pay some attention to those positions, or we could start getting robust on our bench. And one of the 2 players that we're going to take here is going to be a wide receiver, and we're looking at Gabe Davis and Zay Flowers as 2 guys in this range that we feel pretty good about. We're going to get one of those 2 here, but let's go ahead and look at the running back position to see how we want to handle that. I think if we wait on tight end and quarterback for one more trip through the draft board, we can probably get away with it because there are targets here that I would love to be able to snap up at the running back and wide receiver positions, respectively. We're going to go Zach Charbonnet at running back, Khalil Herbert a little higher on the board, Brian Robinson a little higher on the board. But just like with what we do in smaller drafts, 12-team, 14-team, 10-team, we're looking for upside on the bench. And I feel like Zach Charbonnet in PPR is absolutely upside off your bench. And he's a guy who should have a locked-in role as the RB2 in the Seattle offense to begin the season. Pete Carroll wants to run the football. They draft Zach Charbonnet knowing they had Ken Walker. I think they're just going to run both of those guys and have robust roles for both of those guys. Now we get into a situation, too, where we ask ourselves, do we want a second Buffalo Bill? Because bye weeks are going to be a killer when you get into this thing. And I'm scrolling in with my eyeballs here to see. I've got Tyler Lockett, Charbonnet, and Keenan Allen right now on week 5 buys. That's kind of a bummer. So it's a little bit rough to go. And Justin Jefferson is a week 13 buy, sharing with what's his name? James Cook. Zay Flowers is the same way. Yeah, this is tough, guys. This is really difficult to kind of try and plan bye weeks and things of that nature as we go along. It should be okay because we've only got a couple of guys overlapping. Week 5 could be a bit of a challenge, but we're going to roll our Buffalo Bills off of our bench, and there's still going to be another player that we're going to have to probably start in a bit of a panic mode here toward the end. You're noticing the fact that I am just absolutely punting on both quarterback and tight end. There's a reason for that. When you play in 16-person leagues, you have got to shore up your depth at running back and wide receiver. I'm telling you, you cannot just act like you've got enough and then an injury or two happens, which they do happen. Just because you're in a 16-man league does not mean you are not still susceptible to injuries. You are completely screwed at that point. I can tell you this from experience. It's really hard to make your way back from that. So I want a strong bench, and then I just want to pick on waivers and try to find a way to get some level of productivity out of my quarterback and my tight end that I'm going to end up drafting toward the end of this thing. Right now, it's bleak. The best quarterback on the board is Jared Goff. We've got Russell Wilson, Derek Carr, Bryce Young, Brock Purdy still toward the top of that list. It ain't great. At tight end, it feels like we have to take a shot on a tight end, or we may really be in the you-know-what if we don't do it during this pass-through. I'm gonna reach a little bit and grab Sam Laporta right here because he's a rookie tight end that I do believe has some legit upside to be a top 10, top 12 tight end in the Lions offense this year. It's rough that I have to spend a pick on that at this point, but I just don't think there are many guys with that level of upside remaining later on in the draft, so we're going to take our shot with it. We're not going to go quarterback here. We're going to try to make another pass-through. Again, it's going to be bleak, but ideally what you end up doing by robust RB, robust wide receiver, you end up having pieces that you can trade to the teams that didn't stock up as much as you did. And usually you're going to be able to trade for their tight end or their quarterback, package whoever you have at that position, add a wide receiver or a running back that they desperately need, and you can upgrade at those spots as the year goes along. It's going to look a little bit bleak to begin, but that is the way to do it in my estimation. The running back that I trust the most right here is going to be Jaylen Warren. Tank Bigsby was also a big consideration. But at this point, yes, you're looking for upside, but you're also looking for guys that you can plug into your damn lineup. And Jaylen Warren, with a week 6 bye, is going to fit into our lineup during week 5. The backup to Najee Harris, I think it could be more like a 50-50 timeshare by the later portion of the season. Let's check in, though, now to the quarterback run that is absolutely going to end our lives. I can't imagine too many teams doubling up on quarterback in a real 16-man draft, but you're seeing a lot of teams taking backup QBs right now. Derek Carr is a backup. I'm trying to see other teams that may have done so. Yeah, Bryce Young, Brock Purdy here to teams 14 and 15. It's ridiculous. I'm telling you, it's not going to happen in a real league, and if it does, don't panic. Here's what you do. You look down, and you take Sam Howell late, and you say, this is great. I've got a little bit of upside at quarterback, and I took it after a bunch of teams in my league took backups. Like, Sleeper is on drugs with this. There's no way this many teams in a 16-man league is going to take a backup quarterback. Maybe they will. Maybe they will because, after all, you do need a quarterback during your QB's bye week. But I'm telling you what, trust me on this. I've been through it enough in 16-man leagues. You just need to stock up on your depth. Let's see where we are right now. We want to make sure we have kind of close to an even number of RBs and wide receivers. Warren, Charbonnet, James Cook, Jahmyr Gibbs. That's 4 running backs. At wide receiver, Gabe Davis, Tyler Lockett, Keenan Allen, Justin Jefferson. We've got 4 of each. I think we're going to end up wanting 1 of each to cap off this draft. Roschon Johnson and Kenny Gainwell are the running backs that are jumping out to me toward the top of this list right now. There's only 1 wide receiver that I see jumping out at me, and so we're just going to grab him here. It's Marvin Mims. The Denver Broncos, maybe without Jerry Jeudy for a little bit to begin the season. We know Tim Patrick, once again, with a season-ending injury for him. Just an absolute run of bad luck for Tim Patrick. Denver Broncos wide receiver. So where does that leave a potentially resurgent Russell Wilson under Sean Payton? He's throwing the ball to Cortland Sutton and potentially rookie wide receiver Marvin Mims. We have no problem taking Mims this late. He's a guy that we really do believe could actually help out our lineup at some point in time this season. So we're absolutely thrilled to be able to get him where we got him here. And then we're just going to take a look at the running back position one more time to see if we can find anybody at the very bitter end of this thing. It would have been nice to have a Kenny Gainwell or to have a Roschon Johnson, but I want to be a little stronger at wide receiver than I am at running back in these types of leagues because, honestly, running backs will get hurt, and you're just praying you have 2 left at the end of the season. But I want the good players to be at wide receiver because that can maybe allow me to trade into some running back depth or perhaps help my affliction at tight end or quarterback. Running back is brutal. We may not even take a 5th one if we don't see anything we like. Is there room to take a backup quarterback? Jimmy Garoppolo, Mac Jones, and Tannehill are the guys sitting out there. I'm going to have some faith, though, in our dude, Sam Howell here, and try to find a running back that makes some sense. It might end up being Jerome Ford here because it is bleak at the end of this draft. He's the Mr. Irrelevant of this draft. Backup running back for the Cleveland Browns. I am so heavy on Nick Chubb. I really like him to have a great season, but a part of that is because there's no Kareem Hunt there in Cleveland. If something, though, should happen to Nick Chubb, Jerome Ford would probably be in line to take over a pretty big workload there. So we're just going to take our shot on Jerome Ford and hope that we don't ever need to use him. This is my draft. Unbelievable. What a chaotic situation. A 16-person league. We went Sam Howell at quarterback, and we waited till the back of round 10 to get him. He was probably the 21st quarterback off the board or something crazy like that, maybe even beyond that. But first of all, I like him for week 1. He plays Arizona, hosting Arizona. He's my favorite QB stream. If you're unable for whatever reason to draft a QB in your real fantasy draft, grab Sam Howell off waivers or grab him in the final round, start him week 1. And in this format, dude, I might be trying to trade him into a Dak Prescott or a Kirk Cousins, somebody who might have had a down week 1. I think Sam Howell's going to pop off. The Commanders host the Cardinals week 1. The Cardinals are abysmal. That's a play that I think you should keep in the back of your mind for deep leagues. Running back, Jahmyr Gibbs, James Cook. I like both of those guys for PPR. I think they're both going to have roles in the pass catching range. Zach Charbonnet off my bench as well at running back is going to do the exact same thing. So I feel pretty good about that. Justin Jefferson, it's nice to start off a draft with JJ. Keenan Allen, I feel like is going to be a PPR weapon for us. Please stay healthy, Keenan. Tyler Lockett, I'm just not that worried about a drop off for Lockett, who has had 220 some odd plus PPR points in 5 consecutive seasons. He is my dude, and I love him for this format. Sam Laporta is our tight end. That's a little bit of a wing and a prayer type of situation. But with where we were on the tight end, we could have gone Tyler Higbee for the floor, but I'm going for the ceiling with Laporta. So we have a couple of Lions in our lineup, which we'll see how that evolves over the season. Gabe Davis feels like an awesome pick for our bench to potentially slot in at wide receiver or flex if something should happen to one of our main guys. Do not underestimate Jaylen Warren's ability to just get you 8 to 10 PPR points. I think he's going to have a role for the Steelers, and Kenny Pickett should take a step forward to make that offense a little bit better. Marvin Mims and Jerome Ford are 2 guys that may not be getting drafted in standard leagues, but at a 16-person league, I think they're really solid picks off the bench. I might have been able to comb through the wire a little bit to find somebody better than Jerome Ford, but I was under the gun with time. I do really think Marvin Mims a solid pick at that point in the draft. Let me know what the hell you think about this 16-person draft. This is one of the dumbest things I've ever done on YouTube, so I appreciate you guys for checking it out. I'm showing you the whole draft board now, but I'm sure you can't see it. So this has been fun. Hit subscribe. I promise you, most of my videos not nearly this chaotic, but this one was sure fascinating. So thanks for being along for the ride. More fantasy football content to come as we march towards September 7th, the opener between the Lions and Chiefs of the NFL 2023. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we'll talk to you next time on the Brenden Schaeffer Fantasy Football Channel. Peace.